City.
Actually, that's spot on.
It is spot on.
All the competition that try to compete.
Everything is spot on.
We know it's only week 8. We know it's early, but SOS is already talking about the Super Bowl. So today we're focusing not just who we think is going to win the Super Bowl, but who's our dark horse, who we think has a chance that might surprise the whole nation in making it to the Super Bowl. I'm going to start with Mia to tell us what you think.
All right, coming off of just this week alone, the Steelers have pulled off something I didn't think they were going to pull off. And for that reason, they just may turn that corner and continue to surprise everybody going deeper into the season. So I'm rolling with the Steelers to be the dark horse for right now.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go. So I got 2, right? And I'm only going to explain one, but I got 2, right? So I got one for the NFC and for the AFC. My NFC dark horse team, right? I know people are going to look at me crazy, right? And they're going to be like, dark horse, this isn't a dark horse. But they are a dark horse because the way we started talking about another team in their division as if this team doesn't exist no more. And yeah, he kills me. The New Orleans Saints is my dark horse team.
Man.
We hit the panic button and then we completely stopped talking about them. And then they pulled off this win streak and now we act like they don't exist. They're the only NFC team we haven't seen at full strength. They still don't have Michael Thomas. And they have Drew Brees back there still pulling that trigger. They have Sean Payton still calling those plays. I wish he would stop putting Taysom Hill in the game when Drew Brees gets hot. It's like he waits till Drew Brees hits like 10 passes in a row, and he's like, oh, okay, let me give Taysom Hill a run to the right. Like, what? You know? But anyways, New Orleans Saints. But as far as my dark horse team, for real, let me get close to the mic and talk to y'all.
Yeah.
This is a team I adopted a couple weeks ago because I had to on the show. That's my Tennessee Titans, right? The Tennessee Titans, they're my dark horse team. When you look at what they're doing, yes, I know they just lost to the Steelers, but what they did do was overcome a 20-point lead, and they almost won that game if it wasn't for kicker Stephen Gostkowski. It's another proof that kickers don't matter. I think that they have more momentum. Derrick Henry was able to get back in the game once they bridged that gap and closed that lead, and I think they would have won that game in overtime, and they'd be undefeated right now. Like I said, if you look at what they did, they played 3 games in 13 days. They almost won all 3 of them. They thoroughly whooped the Buffalo Bills, who were undefeated at the time. And I can't remember. Oh, and then the game they had against the Texans, coming back and winning that game in overtime. I think when you look at Ryan Tannehill, just the way he's producing, he's not doing too much. Like I said, he's playing and producing like a top 5 quarterback. Derrick Henry is leading the league in rushing. Ryan Tannehill is 33% of his passes are play action. So 1 out of every 3 passes, they're basing it off of Derrick Henry, and the defense is falling for it every time. A.J. Brown is balling. Well-coached team. Jadeveon Clowney still hasn't really just shown up yet. I think the second half of the season, he'll be a game record. Maybe not sacks, but just making plays, interceptions, fumbles. I think the Titans are one of the best coached teams in the AFC. We've seen them go against the Chiefs and the Ravens recently, and they didn't fold. Although they lost to the Chiefs, they were up, and we saw what they did to the Ravens. So I think the Titans, if we're talking dark horse, is the best candidate for the Super Bowl.
Look, man, if I wasn't one of the 3 people on here, I'd just shut up because my boy John had already blessed your ears with the right information. All right. I was going to come in here and I was going to say the Saints, and I thought people was going to look at me. So, all right. I really did, because before the year, they're a favorite. But this isn't preseason anymore. This is week 8. And weeks 1 through 2, really 1 through 3, we're out here pressing the panic button. Drew Brees is washed. You know, and he get – hell, I heard somebody say –
air yards. They said air yards.
The worst thing the NFL ever did was tell Drew Brees that air yards exist. Drew Brees looked at the journalists who talked to him about his air yards, worried about it, and proceeded to start playing. Let me tell you something real quick. I'm going to talk about Drew Brees, but not at length, because I know that we got to do a whole episode about this. But Drew Brees, he came in and he played all right. We didn't really look at him against Tampa Bay. Then against Las Vegas, he was completely inaccurate. There was passes that were un-Drew Brees-like. He came back against the Green Bay Packers. He had accuracy again. But in that game, he lacked decision-making, and he was not quick to pull the trigger. Well, in every game since then, he has pulled the trigger. And I say that and illustrate that point to say that Drew Brees has had a flaw that people have pointed out every week, and he has came back and fixed it. But unfortunately, people have not realized how good Drew Brees has played recently. Last week against the Packers, he didn't have his top 2 receivers. He didn't have Emmanuel Sanders due to COVID, and he didn't have Michael Thomas due to a hamstring. And he may not have either one of them this week, as Sanders will have to miss the game against the Bears. Marquez Callaway stepped up. An undrafted free agent stepped up. You've seen Deontay Harris, who was our kick returner, punt returner. He stepped up with some catches. Traquan Smith stepped up with some catches. Alvin Kamara is playing. He is making a $15 million contract for a running back, seem somehow underpaid. That is how good and how valuable he has been to this team this year. But this gets rubbed under everything because we're not going to talk about it because they're not as flashy. They are one of the teams that I am seeing with Latavius Murray as well in the offensive line and a bunch of possession receivers that can not only beat you over the top quickly, well, not really, they don't do that as much, but what they can do is work down. They had 8 drives against the Panthers, and 4 of them were 6 minutes or more. Like, that is crazy. The amount of ball control to do that repeatedly in a game is wild. But let me get to the one thing that I think holds back the Saints in some people's mind, and that's that defense. The defense, I haven't talked about it. I think I came on here and said the Saints are an average ball club because of the defense. No matter what teams you were going to put out there in the NFC, however, besides Tampa Bay, because I think they should be the favorite right now. The Packers have shown that they cannot stop the running game, and they cannot stop a running back in pass coverage. And the Seahawks do not have a good defense. They have a poor defense. So what I'm saying is, because the Saints do not have some sort of flashy offense, I think that they get lost when we're talking about Green Bay and we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks. The New Orleans Saints really took Green Bay to what was their best challenge before getting beat up on by Tampa Bay, and they beat Tampa Bay. This team is good. Do not allow that their offense isn't getting 60-yard bombs and that they play in a division with Tampa Bay Buccaneers make you think that the Saints cannot turn things around and get into becoming a Super Bowl contender once again. They're not far. That's why they're my dark horse, because a lot of people are leaving them out to dry.
Yeah, I think
shout out to you, Don. Hey, shout out to you, man. Hey, Tony, I know you probably listen somewhere. Give that man a raise. All right, give that man a raise. You hear me? Break. Give that man a raise. You know what he's talking about.
This all I'm gonna say. Tony's known me since 2012. He know I prize myself on being first team all common sense. But I think that Week 9 matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints is going to be a big one. Like I said, the fascination with Tom Brady and what they've been able to do, how they dismantled Aaron Rodgers, and then just the way they've been playing the last 3-4 weeks. Tom Brady, I think 15 touchdowns to 1 interception his last 3-4 games. He's been phenomenal. And just the way they've been playing, that defense is, I think, the number 2 defense in the league right now. They're just hitting on all the cylinders, so I get that. But like I said, the fascination with Tom Brady and them, you mentioned Week 1, the New Orleans Saints beat this Buccaneers team. So I think that matchup of Week 9, it's going to be a huge matchup. Obviously, we could see AB in his first game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That could be the first game that Michael Thomas is back as well. So I think that's going to be a huge matchup. And I think the winner of that matchup will kind of be the favorite going forward, because we'll have more information at that point. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the New Orleans Saints, we can say, okay, they got better since that Week 1 matchup, and they're probably the favorites in the division. And if New Orleans beats the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we could say, okay, regardless of what the Buccaneers are doing, the Saints are still the class of that division. So they're my dark horse right now, just because they've been slept on. Like I said, we were quick to jump on Drew Brees and talk about what he wasn't doing, but now that he's doing it, we've kind of tailed off, and, we don't want to pay attention to it. The media doesn't like to admit when they're wrong. So, I think Week 9 we'll really see who's the class of that division. And maybe after that point, they won't be a dark horse, but I think definitely right now they're not getting the respect they deserve.
And I want to say this for clarification purposes. I got in there and I was talking with my chest. I had my chest puffed out because I'm not going to hide it. I am a Saints fan, but I like to bring up facts behind on why I think that. I don't want to make it seem like the defense is not an issue. The defense is an issue. I'm just saying that sometimes we overlook how big of an issue it is for other teams such as Green Bay and Seattle when we're talking about how good they are in the NFC. But that Saints defense is an issue. So don't get it misconstrued. I do understand how that defense is holding them back. But I think it's time to give them at least the respect that we are giving Green Bay and Seattle, because there's no team in the NFC that has a complete offense and defense right now that has proved it other than Tampa Bay.
And that's a great point. I'm going to give y'all a stat y'all probably haven't heard yet for all the fans that's listening. The Seattle Seahawks have given up more yards this year than the Dallas Cowboys, right? And I know that sounds crazy. You probably think I'm lying, but they really have. So that's just a testament to what Darian's saying, right? We don't, and none of it matters if they're winning. But Seattle is real vulnerable. We saw what the Cardinals were able to do with them. We saw what the Cowboys did to them. The Falcons did to them. Everybody, like I said, they've given up more yards than, the Cowboys this year. So, I mean, Seattle's vulnerable. We saw how the Packers got dismantled. The Saints have beat Tampa Bay. So I think it's wide open in the NFC right now. And, as we continue to get more information, see some of these teams play each other, I think a favorite will start to emerge.
Definitely some good picks for Dark Horse. I just got to say one team that I feel like has been out of the media for a while. I'm not saying that they're not a great team, but the Baltimore Ravens have been out of discussion, I feel like, for everybody. And I don't know if y'all remember, but Pat Mahomes was for a while, when he was that MVP, the next year it was kind of forgotten a little bit. It was like, he's not going to win the Super Bowl. And then the year that everybody forget, that's the year he win it. I would not be surprised if Lamar Jackson comes into the playoffs and wins it this year and proves everybody wrong. Now that the pressure's off of him, would not be surprised. Just had to mention his name. But other than that, thank you guys.
Defense. That's important too. The Ravens have the number one defense. But he's not. He doesn't have to do it by himself. I think we need to see more from that passing game, obviously. I think that it could be a situation where a team could get them down in the playoffs or, it's a shootout. You can't run your way to a victory like they did every, game last year. We saw that didn't work in the playoffs. So, hopefully.
I got this up. Hey, I meant to hold this up when I was talking. Go vote. Y'all feel me? What matters now? Go vote. I meant to do it, but Jonathan teed me up when he said the Saints, and I forgot about my whole little antic to say it. But I wanted to hold this up. So if y'all made it to the end of the video, not only y'all getting blessed with great sports coverage, y'all getting blessed with a message. Y'all need to go vote. Early voting ends on the 30th. If y'all ain't did it by then, go out on the 3rd. Get y'all voting, man, because it matters for real.
Dude, Darian closed it out perfect. I don't need to say anything else. Y'all hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll see y'all next time. Go vote.
We thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to check out more shows here on this YouTube page, such as SOS Discussions or My Point Exactly. And most of all,
keep watching Spot on Sports.
It's a new wave of sports that's sweeping the nation. We're not just accurate, it's spot on.